I can't keep quiet. There's someone who understands. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. Must be someone who understands. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. There'll be someone who understands. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. Ooh, I can't keep quiet. No.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How can science serve our liberation?
Our liberation? Like, what do you mean?
Do you think we're free, or is there oppression
yeah.
in the world?
Definitely.
So how can science help free us from that oppression?
Oppression of stupid people? By telling
go
us
there.
the truth.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it liberates us from myth and misinformation. It's all about truth and trying to find the truth instead of being stuck in old ideas that don't work. So I guess I'm being recorded for...
Is that okay?
Yeah. So I think that's a very good question. And I'm glad you're doing that.
It's for a science project for class. I'm a grad student studying environmental leadership
Oh,
at
environmental leadership. Where is it? Where?
Naropa University in Boulder.
Oh,
It's a small Buddhist influence school.
yeah. Huh, sure.
You're a geologist
Yeah, and environmental scientist. Yeah,
in Denver, or
in Denver, yeah. Yeah, so,
do you think this is the beginning of a potential social movement that brings science together with other social movements, like intersectional?
well, one would hope so. I think a lot of, it'd be really good if we could get the groups that are working towards human rights together with people who are supporting science. We all have common ideas about truth and justice, and I think that it would be great if scientists would talk to social scientists and talk to people in the humanities and people in movements like Black Lives Matter and other movements for human rights.
Well, by allowing us to live, keep us free and alive, healthy. What's your answer?
My answer is to decolonize science by remembering that indigenous people were the first scientists on the planet, and by bringing together science more holistically, not separating science into different disciplines, but understanding how science works together to live sustainably.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Science liberates everyone because knowledge liberates everyone. And the more you know, the less likely you are to be victimized or taken advantage of, or even have low self-esteem. Science elevates everyone.
How can science serve our liberation?
What kind of liberation are you talking about?
What does liberation mean to you?
To be fully loved.
Can science serve that?
Yes, everything is part of everything. So it's a part of life that will. It's a part of part of life.
How can science serve? Science helps us distinguish truth against falsehoods. And that's why science is so important to our generation.
And what's the connection between science and magic?
Science and magic? Science helps explain what appears to be magic, but it's not magic. Like this levitation wand you see, right? If you don't know it, it looks like magic. But the wand is actually balanced. So if I turn it this way, it naturally wants to go to the other side. And so it's only by knowing how things are balanced can we do something like this. And even the Ouija board, we can explain through interpretations of our self-conscious and how we want things to be perceived.
Right on. That's a great answer. Thanks so much.
Science doesn't have borders. Science is international. science education is international. There's a lot of foreigners working in science in the United States, so they can come here and be free if they're not free in their own country.
How can science serve our liberation? Without science, we aren't alive. So there is nothing, not liberation or anything else on the planet.
Science is a great equalizer, so it's always true. No matter where you come from, no matter what country you live in, no matter what you're...
And there's always facts behind it. That's the beauty of science. It's all based on facts.
Well, we've got doctors, we've got physicists, we've got people that tell us if it's going to rain tomorrow. We can't survive without science. Otherwise, we'd be cavemen.
Oh yeah, well it gives us knowledge, and we can't progress without knowledge and information. Ignorance is going to keep us in the dark. Yeah.
Everyone agree with that?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that.
What is the definition of race? Is it a scientific definition?
I would say it's a social construct.
Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Science can teach people the fallacy of any basis for science and race.
That's a brilliant point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good question.
Never really thought it through. Any ideas?
Do you have any?
Just provide hard facts so we can make decisions on those facts instead of just on what we want. Because what we want might not be exactly the same as what science is.
With everything. Everything is made with science, and everything is created from science. We need it. It's just that. That's simple. Science is everything.
I think science is about studying life, right? And the more we study life, the more we realize it's interconnected, and that what affects one person or affects one species affects everything else. And so we realize that in order for us to be liberated, everyone else needs to be liberated as well. And so the same ideas that different social movement people have been talking about for a while, that all of our liberation is wrapped up together, is exactly the same thing we find when we start to study science. And there's no greater example than climate change. We all share the same atmosphere. And when we do things to disrupt that atmosphere and keep in the warmth through the heat-trapping gases, what we end up doing is we end up impacting all of us. And so since we're all in this together, we have to realize that all of our liberation is also wrapped up in this together.
Science can serve our liberation by letting people be free thinkers. It's better for the whole community if everyone has their own ideas and shares them with everybody else. Our own individuality feeds off of each other, and that makes for a greater whole.
Can I see your sign? Awesome. Thanks so much. Oh, another sign. Thank you. Yeah, it's liberty too.
It makes you free. Yep, you know what? It's like playing games. There are rules. And as long as everything is, if you make a discovery nobody else has made, somebody will give you credit. Just like if you make a basket or you score a point.
Yeah.
People won't disregard what you do when you can prove it. So that's how it goes. Liberation. There. Turn it around though. What?
How can science serve our liberation?
Oh wow. That's a hard question. Because it's alive.
It's alive? Alive?
It's a lot.
A lot.
There's a lot that could be done.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know how to answer that.
It's a
Good question.
That's a unique question.
I like that.
I think science has served oppression in a lot of ways by contributing to war, and corporations. Scientists work for money, but we need scientists to work for the people
But
instead.
the thing is, with science is, there's a pro and a con of it. Anything you can, science can be a negative thing, but you have to look at what good it does too, right?
At the core, it could be good.
Yeah.
And
that's the way it started out.
right. And
Initially
then the wrong
started out,
people
yeah.
get their hands on it, and it turns into something.
You can look at historically, I know George Washington Carver worked for black freedom, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Any other black scientists who work for liberation of black people?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Like your sign. I'm doing this for a class project.
Oh, okay.
I'm a graduate student.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah.
I just finished graduate school.
Where'd you study?
It's a long process.
Here it is.
Statistics.
This is
Right on. Very cool.
let's see.
Well, you gotta give me one more good idea because you're an actual scientist.
Yeah. I don't know, because I always come back to, I think, just thinking more along the lines of like the scientific method. I just think that's the way to go. That really, regardless of what we do, if you're thinking in that way, where you have the evidence and you have things that can back it up, and then you can show how you can apply it and how it can be good.
Including for policy, making policy with a scientific method.
Yeah, because we can't just jump in. We have to go in and do our research and get our evidence and really figure out what's going to work.
How can I serve our liberation? Well, for one, it informs us that we really need to get off of fossil fuels, and I think to do that we need to form a more socialist form of society. So science shows that we need to radically change everything about how we do society, a whole new political economic system. So
Socialism in terms of like decentralizing government.
Yeah, decentralizing government, power back to local communities, back to the people, power to the workers in the workforce, and within that is liberation for the individual.
I don't know what our liberation means, so I don't know if I'll have a good answer for that.
What does liberation mean to you?
Like becoming more free, but usually I feel like it implies really dark place that you come out of, like slavery. We're not being enslaved right now,
but there is oppression.
Yeah, there's oppression.
Can science help us liberate ourselves from that oppression?
Science can help everything. Science is just a method of figuring out what is a speculation and what is not. So if we know what works, thanks to science, we can use that to help free the freedom.
I answered your questions.
I think I feel like liberation involves knowledge, and I feel like science and searching for truth and facts, and basing how we interact with each other around that is the way to go.
Understanding reality.
Do you have an answer?
Because
Do you have an
humans
answer?
humans have an innate desire to know.
Yeah.
So it helps us to learn about our world and our environment.
I would go totally other direction. You need science to encrypt your messages so that they're not eavesdropped on when you plot for your liberation.
Yes.
There's that too.
And that.
We all agree. Inquiring minds all agree.
I would also say science needs to be decolonized, and indigenous people were the first scientists. I think science has been used to serve corporate greed and military interests, not the people.
Yeah, right. Let's make the rules. I was just thinking last night, if scientists had to take like a Hippocratic oath, that science is for humans, for making humans healthier, I think that would be nice. You know, if scientists did the same thing.
I'm down. Let's start.
Thank you. I think that science can serve as a foundation for truth, and I think truth can be very liberating and unifying, and it gets rid of ignorance, and not just scientific ignorance or philosophical ignorance, but I mean just human relation ignorance, you know. I think it can solve a lot of issues.
So we teach the kids in school that it's important to recycle their computers because they have precious metals of platinum, gold, and silver. And those metals typically are mined in Africa, and there are warring factions over those minerals and those mines. And that if we recycle and continue to harvest those already in the computers, we don't have to go after minerals in the new mines, and then we can stop that warring and liberate those people that are being used as slaves to do.
Well, that's a great question, because with science, we can look at the data, look at the facts. And sometimes it's indisputable, right? Laws of physics. So if we really did that, we can address some of the key issues that are going on in our society right now. Not just only climate issues.
Talk a little louder. Not
just only climate issues or fracking or those kinds of scientific analysis and data, but we can look at something even more drastic, is these illegal wars that are going on. Endless wars under the guise of fighting terrorism, war on terror. And we can use science in that way to look at, well, what really did happen on 9/11?
Yeah.
Laws of physics. Buildings don't just come down at free fall speed. That violates the laws of physics, the law of falling bodies, the law of gravity, law of conservation of energy, conservation of momentum. So if we did that, if we actually use science in that beautiful, effective way, we will realize, wow, we've been duped about this fraudulent war on terror, where all our trillions of dollars every year is going, killing innocent people, and we can instead divert that money for education, for science, for healthcare, put solar panels on every house in the United States. That's how much money we're spending on war in the military-industrial complex. So there's a direct answer to your question. That would liberate us, as not only economically, but as a society. We wouldn't be fearing so-called Muslims and terrorists, Islamic terrorists, because they're not the ones that are perpetrating all this. These are false flag operations that have been done throughout history. I mean, if you Google Operation Gladio, they were doing this in Europe after World War II. So there's where we can actually use science in many positive ways. There are many positive ways we can use science. But let's start there. Imagine the kind of world we can create. Transform our society from war, endless war, to endless solar panels, endless free education, endless healthcare, you name it.
Thank you.
You're
Awesome.
welcome.
What's your name?
Joseph, medicine broker.
Joseph, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Great
welcome.
answer.
Come gather around, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accepted that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming, or you'll sink like a stone. For the times they are changing. I brought the harmonizer just in case you weren't gonna sing on the chorus. Come writers and creeks who prophesy with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheels still then spin. There's no telling